Hi there, I'm Katie Cat, and this is Yoda, my little rescue pup. This is our weekly AstroTarot for the week of May 16th through the coming week. And we have a lot on the table today. If you're like me, there's been some big changes in your life in the last couple of days, and that's on the table, and that's not such a big surprise because when we look at what's going on astrologically today, we have a lot of energy up in Taurus. And Taurus is an area, it's a fixed earth energy, which means it's a really stable, grounded energy typically by nature. And it has a lot of change going on. We have this grouping of planets up here. We have Jupiter and the Sun that were just in conjunction a couple of days ago, which means they were at the same degree. We also have Uranus up there, which is all about big changes, and Venus is moving through that space too. Mercury is just now entering into Taurus, so there's going to be some more information and communications around the changes that have been happening. And these big changes and big shifts can be even more present in your life if you have any placements in any of the fixed signs, which would be the fixed fire sign of Leo, the fixed water sign of Scorpio, which is in opposition of this Taurus placement, and the fixed air sign of Aquarius. I have 5 planets in Scorpio, so these planets have been affecting me a lot, and they're making me really look at my belief system and also where I place my energies, because for me anyway, the Taurus part of my chart is up in the 9th house, which is higher learning and teaching. Now, ironically, I'm also going to be going to teach an aromatherapy class and steam distillation course in the coming week, and that will likely open up some big changes for me as well. And if you have placements in any of those fixed signs, you're likely going to be affected by this a lot. Also, if you have any strong placements in any of the earth signs, because it would be in trine relationship with all of these planets up in Taurus. Of course, depending on what house those are in, that's going to give the flavor or the area of life that you're going to be experiencing those changes. So keep that in mind. And of course, if you'd like me to help you take a look at that, you are welcome to reach out to me at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com or through, Facebook Messenger or Instagram or wherever it is that you're seeing this. Now, in regard to the readings the cards that we have on the table for this reading today, we have the opening card of, oh goodness, you can't be in my lap right now, buddy. We have the opening card of the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is all about clarity. It can also bring up, some kind of harsh communication or harsh words, but consider that the Ace of Swords cuts through things. So it lends clarity. It cuts away any of the cloudiness or disillusionment around a situation. And it can also be talking about very clear, concise communication and also decision making around a process. Now, the challenge that came on the table, at least for this week, is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune speaks about changes of fate and big changes. It's governed by the planet of Jupiter, which is why I highlighted this placement up here in Taurus, because Jupiter and the Sun have been in conjunction at close proximity with Uranus and Venus, which is big changes, big shifts, and expansive opportunities. Now, these changes might not feel so good right at the beginning of the situation, but consider that all things get revealed in time, and based on what we have on the table today, it is telling us to have a bit of patience with the situation. Now, this change was followed by the 5 of Wands. Now, the 5 of Wands is all about either conflict or cooperation, and it speaks to our ability to figure out which avenue we want to take, because it is a 5. Are these people actually in some kind of conflict, or are they kind of training? Are they learning through their actions and deciding where they want to put their energy and where it's most useful? It always reminds me of the martial art capoeira, which is how we use disadvantage to our advantage. And it's kind of this, it looks at least like this playful dance, but they're really actually in a training martial art so that they can know how to defend themselves in different situations by learning how to maneuver around different situations. And this big change and this big shift is bringing that onto the table. It's calling us to look at how we engage and why we engage so that we can actually learn something from it. Now, that card was followed by the Knight of Pentacles, which is why I said it's all about having some kind of patience with a situation and slowing things down. Now, it might seem like there's some bit of inertia in the particular scenario that you're in, but actually it's asking us to really be centered in our value system and to move forward purposely, one foot at a time and in a very slow way. Now, the Knight of Pentacles, you see that the horse has all of their feet on the ground, which is kind of leading to this lack of movement. So this big change and big shift may feel like there's something that is not moving about it. And it's asking us to have some level of patience and to move very thoughtfully and purposely in everything that we do. Now, that card was clarified by the Emperor. Whoa, hey. Hey, buddy. What's up with that? That card was clarified by the Emperor. And the Emperor is governing the planet of Mars. Now, Mars is going through Aries right now, and it will be in conjunction with Chiron in a couple of days, and it'll also be in conjunction with the North Node. So there's something that's asking you to re-engage where you set your arrow, so to speak, in life, and to keep focused on your aim and make sure it's in alignment with the area that you want to go. The Emperor is a warrior type energy. It brings some level of understanding to chaos. It brings order to chaos, and it has to ask you what vantage point you're looking at things from and how you are engaging with it based on everything that is present in your life. It is a major arcana, and consider that anytime major arcana show up, it's bringing up some kind of life lesson. It's bringing up something that we have to work with, that we can't just disengage from and dismiss. So it could be asking us to look at how we engage, why we engage, what calls us to engage, and consider that, ideally, war is only happening to create peace. And so if there is something that's a conflict or something that is disruptive, what is it bringing to the table that needs to be looked at and examined for us to actually create peace again? Now, that card was followed by the Six of Swords. So this is our second sword card that's on the table today, but we see these people who are leaving an area of turbulence and they're moving to an area of stillness. They're traveling out of turbulence into some kind of safe haven. They're moving away from something to create balance in their life. That is also followed by the Ten of Pentacles. So we have a lot of pentacles so far. We have one more card that's a pentacle on the table today. Ten of Pentacles is typically, material security, and reminding us that material security isn't something that is necessarily like a pinnacle you reach that's permanent, but that you have to constantly work toward it. There is a sense of kind of happily ever after with this card, some crystallization of some dream, but it's something that we have to continue to work for and toward. And so it could be that this disruption in the area of Taurus in your chart or in your life, this disruption is actually helping you to re-engage and realign with something that you've been wanting to build towards and that you truly value. Now, that is further clarified by the Cosmos card, which is also known as the World in traditional decks. The Cosmos card is associated with Saturn, which is a planet of responsibility, and it brings about some kind of limitation so that our energies are really focused on what we do. And even though it could bring about some kind of limitation, it also allows for completion through that sense of responsibility. Saturn currently is in the sign of Pisces, moving through Pisces. So wherever you have Pisces in your chart, whether it's in the first, second, third, fourth, all the way through the 12th house, each of those houses are representing a different area of your life. And so it could be highlighting some challenge that you've been experiencing that is part of this equation, because Saturn right now is in a sextile relationship with the things that are going on in Taurus. So there is this kind of help or assistance by way of this change that's showing you a limitation that you have to put energy and effort toward. Now consider that Saturn governs the sign of Capricorn by its nature. And so it is, in a lot of ways, by its nature, it helps us to have responsibility in our career and our life path and our legacy in life. And so it's traveling through the sign of Pisces because it's showing us more of the spiritual aspect of where we're going, and also the things that we need to let go of, because the sign of Pisces, being that it's the last sign before Aries begins again, there's this quality of dissolving things before they're reborn. So there's some aspect to this limitation that needs to be worked with for some other experience to be born out of it. And it's through that limitation that we gain responsibility with where we're putting our energy and effort. And Saturn is ultimately the teacher. It is the teacher and lesson of time, because Saturn takes roughly 28 years to move around the zodiac system. And so it sits in any house for about, or any sign for about 2.5 years. So it will be in the sign of Pisces until 2026. It's actually going to be going retrograde at the end of June. And so it will be going retrograde, I believe, to about 12 degrees. So if you have any planets around, 10 degrees Pisces forward, you are going to be feeling this impact of Saturn traveling over those planets and putting this sense of responsibility and restriction, bringing it to your attention so that you have to work with it. But it is the completion of something. It is bringing about, some positive aspect to understanding what you need to do and what is really being called to attention-wise in your life. Now that is followed by the Eight of Pentacles. So it's highlighting some kind of work that we have to do, something that we have to put regular effort towards, because this is the craftsman. We can see that he's crafting away on his coins. He's making sure he puts his energy and effort towards things that he values, and he's building them and he's refining the process over time. Life itself is a process. It is a learning experience. And when things come up and things shift, they're showing us what we need to work on. And so we can't just, dismiss that. We have to acknowledge it and apply what we know and what we've learned to our experience. That was further clarified by the Judgment card. The Judgment card, you can see there's this realization happening. We see these three figures that are kind of awakening or being reborn out of these coffins. So if there's something that you felt like is kind of boxed you in and been restrictive, it's like you're being called to some kind of rebirth. This is also associated with the planet of Pluto. Now, Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius, so it is also highlighting those energies in your chart. Consider that it takes Pluto 248 years to move around the zodiac system. So it will be in this sign of Aquarius for roughly anywhere from 12 to 20 years, depending on what sign it is. I believe for Aquarius, it's going to be there for about 20 years, which is a long time. And Pluto is all about transformation. Now, having Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, anytime any other planets are in the beginning degrees of any of those fixed signs that I mentioned earlier, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, it's going to trigger that energy. They're kind of like dials on a, like on a lock. And when all of these planets align into certain positions, it's as if they awaken each other's energies because of that angular relationship that's happening. Now, when we see that Mercury is going into the sign of Taurus and is at 0 degrees of Taurus right now, and Pluto is at 2 degrees of Aquarius. They're in a square relationship between Aquarius and Taurus. So our values and also our long-range dreams, we're being called to look at them. It's a challenge. It's a challenge that's asking us to sit at the table and look at it and work on it and really see what transformation needs to happen in our lives, because Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of the mind. It's how we see things, how we describe things. And being that it's in this relationship with Pluto, it's really asking us to take a look at the areas of our lives that we are being called to transform so that we can put our energy and effort towards what we truly value. Because consider that Mercury is the fastest moving planet, and it will be passing over all of these other planets in Taurus this month. So it will be engaging all of those planets. Now, Pluto can sound like a scary planet because it's a transformation. And when they found, or when they discovered Pluto, that was also the time of, nuclear warfare being discovered and built and, developed. And so it has this energetic of, when that energy gets released, anything that survives it is ultimately of value, is ultimately of truth. Like if you burn the bridge, what is left? What is left after all of the destruction? What is truly of value that is there due to the transformation? And it often makes me think of the energetic of a phoenix, rising from the ashes of something. And considering that Pluto is the second planet that governs Scorpio, it brings about that quality of transformation of self and getting to the truth of self and what it is bringing to light based on the experiences and changes that are really happening. But again, these people are rising out of some kind of coffin. They're rising out of some kind of restriction or some way of seeing things that looked dark and looked confining, and they are being called out of it into a new experience. We have a few more cards on the table. That Pluto energy is calling us to a place of action. We had the Knight of Pentacles initially, in earlier part of this reading. Now we have the Knight of Wands, which is a much different energy. We see that the horse in this card has its 2 hooves reared up and ready to go. It's a fiery energy because it is a wand. And so there's something that is calling your will into a place of action, but it's asking you to also consider what it means to follow through, because this can be an energetic of just moving so quickly that the quality of what we're doing is ungrounded. So it's interesting that we have both of these knights on the table this week. We have that energy of being really grounded. We also have this energy of being called to move towards something. And so there's a process happening. There's a process of listening to your own inner compass and where you feel it's time to sit and where you feel it's time to take action. Now, the last 2 cards that we have on the table this week, we have the 9 of Pentacles. So another Pentacle card that's hinting to our values, our resources, our monetary system, and ultimately our biggest resource, time itself and what we do with it. And we see this person who is kind of far removed from the outer world. They're spending some time inwardly in their garden. They're having a place of rest, which is an interesting card after this action-oriented card of the Knight of Wands. Now, this is someone who's actually pulling inward to work and finalize and complete a project. So whatever it is that you feel like has been taking your energy away from that, perhaps this big change and this big shift is actually opening up a door for you to work on something while it temporarily closes another. And I say temporarily because of that energetic of the 6 of Swords, where they were moving towards a place of stillness. They were moving toward a place of calm after being in a place of turbulence. Now, the final card that we have on the table for today is the Moon. And as I mentioned in previous readings, the Moon is an interesting factor in regards to time. And if you start watching the Moon and how it triggers parts of your life, you'll have a better understanding of how this celestial body can influence your life and influence interactions with other people. It also has an ebb and flow nature to it. We are going to be having a full moon next week. And so things will come to light, things will come to surface. And so whatever feels stagnant and unmoving now will have some information that's revealed in that time. And it's important to consider that. It's actually, I believe, going to be next Thursday, the 23rd, that we're going to be having that full moon. And it will be in the sign of Sagittarius, it looks like. So wherever you have Gemini in your chart and wherever you have Sagittarius in your chart, that's where these energies are going to be highlighting things in your life and things that are going to be coming to the table. Now, it could be an emotional, relational thing. It could be something that's related to your home. It could be something related to your resources. It really depends on where these anchors are setting up in your chart, because it's as if every house is in the chart system, which there's 12 houses. Each one of them represents a different area of your life. So as these anchors kind of plot their way around it, they will trigger the energies in your own chart. So of course, all of these readings that I give are going to be dependent on where those anchors sit in your chart. There is an overall energetic and meaning to each card, but they have a lot more impact when we consider how they show up in our lives and what they're highlighting in regard to timing for us to work on. Because after all, we are here to become, we're here to learn, we're here to grow. And in this life, the only thing we have is time and energy, and what we make of both of those things. And so whatever's being shifted right now, whatever changes are coming up, listen to your body, listen to your own inner compass in how to respond, because the mind can be a tricky place. It's only one of our anchors. We have 4 tools that we're working with here. We have the mind, we have the heart, we have the physical body, and we have our will. And in today's reading, it's really highlighting a lot of our physicality and our resources, because there's a lot of pentacles on the table, and there's also a lot of major arcanas. So we really need to anchor into our value system and be true in that aspect of ourselves and how we allow it to lead us in our lives, so that we can be in better alignment with not only who we are, but where we're going and how we're going to